Hey, you know what are some really asinine things to do on a wrestling show less than a week before a pay-per-view? Price is Right comedy skits and a random sit-down interview with a retired game show host where he talks about the importance of having your dog neutered. Just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, I got a lot to cover with Impact, so I'm just going to dive into it. Pretty decent show this week. Not as good as the last few weeks, but definitely more enjoyable than Raw, which at this point is really starting to make me wonder why I'm still watching it. A good show in general, but they're still having a problem of trying to cram way too much stuff in. For me, episodes like this are a perfect example of why TNA needs a second weekly show because there's just so much content that they're trying to get through that they don't have enough time for it all, and they have to cut corners everywhere. And that's when we get stuff like starting the show with the first match already in progress, or cutting the main event down to 7 minutes. Oh god, that made me so angry. So let me get this straight. You have enough time on your show for a worked intergender MMA fight, but you can't give AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Kurt Angle, and Samoa Joe more than 7 minutes? Really? TNA, you need to prioritize with this stuff, okay? Like the Tara Cody Deaner thing, for example. Did you really need to put this on the show? After AJ Styles and Frank Trigg and No Surrender last year was an absolute disaster, what made you think fans would want to see this again? Look, I get that TNA is trying to bring in that MMA fan base, but I got news for you. Stuff like this is why MMA fans treat pro wrestling like it's a joke. You wouldn't see pro wrestlers having a worked baseball game in the ring, would you? No. For that same exact reason, you shouldn't be doing worked MMA fights either. Look, MMA fans tend to get insulted when the quote-unquote fake wrestlers make light of mixed martial arts like this. Doesn't matter if that wasn't your intention, that's how the MMA community perceives it. Also, there was a really important pay-per-view development for No Surrender that was completely glossed over because you didn't have enough time to focus on it. Okay, they're doing the usual rundown of the pay-per-view card, and they say, oh yeah, okay, just announced. It's going to be Scott Steiner and Booker T in the British Invasion versus Beer Money and Team 3D. Oh, and by the way, it's going to be in the Six Sides of Steel. And one more thing. It's going to be Lethal Lockdown Rules. The next match on the card is... Whoa! Hold on a second, okay? Let's back up the truck a little bit here. What's this about Lethal Lockdown again? Because I thought I heard somebody say something about Lethal Lockdown. I don't know. I wasn't really paying close attention, so I'm not sure if I heard that right. But I guess it doesn't matter. They didn't devote any time to the announcement at all, so it must not be that big a deal. It must not be that important. Do you see the problem here? Alright, first of all, Lethal Lockdown should be a staple of the Lockdown pay-per-view. We should get this match once a year, that's it. If you want to put these guys in the Six Sides of Steel, that's one thing. But if you want this match to be Lethal Lockdown, you might want to consider actually, promoting it. If you're going to throw the announcement away like this, to the point where a lot of people might not even know it's a Lethal Lockdown match until No Surrender airs, you're basically killing any chance the match has of enticing people to order the pay-per-view. And if you're not going to make a big deal out of it, if you're not going to give it a chance to get you more pay-per-view buys, then why even do it at all? So those are my gripes about the show this week. On the plus side, they're continuing the main event push of Matt Morgan, and I think people are starting to buy into it now. I mean, in that in-ring segment with Kurt Angle, the crowd was chanting "Next World Champ" at this guy. He had a really good exchange with Angle, Sting, and AJ. It was definitely one of Morgan's best promos. And for me, that's been the only thing that was really holding Morgan back, the mic skills thing. And I always thought Matt Morgan had the ability to cut great promos, but he just talks so damn fast a lot of the time. He's just a motor mouth on there, But when he slows down and talks at a more normal rate, like he did here, then his promos are just fine. Also, we had the heel turn of Homicide at the end of the show with him joining the World Elite. That was very well done. I'm not sure how Homicide fits in with an anti-American faction since he's from Brooklyn. But hey, at least they're doing something with him now. I'm cool with Homicide being in the World Elite. they needed something to give that group a boost. They started out strong, but they've been kind of floundering lately. I mean, Eric Young and the British Invasion, those guys are fine, but no one takes Bashir and Kiyoshi seriously at all. I mean, the writers have never gotten behind Kiyoshi, and Bashir, the guy had a pretty underwhelming run with the X Division title, and ever since he lost it, he's gone absolutely nowhere. So I think having Homicide in there will help those guys out a lot. The only problem is there's getting to be too many people in that group now. I mean, it's starting to look like the NWO Black and White, where they had like about half the mid-carders on the roster in the group at one point. I mean, they've got 7 guys in there now, and that's too many. What I would do is keep Eric Young, Brutus Magnus, Doug Williams, and Homicide, and get rid of Bashir, Kiyoshi, and Rob Terry, since it's obvious those guys are just in there for the sake of appearances. That leaves you with 4. That's a good size for a faction. 7 is just watering it down too much. As for the women, I saw the first glimmer of hope for the Knockout Tag Division this week. We had the next qualifying match with Taylor and Sarita versus Alyssa Flash and Daphne, who I call the Zombie Hotties. Easily the best match of this tournament so far. Taylor and Sarita are really gelling as a team. They're incorporating tandem moves already. Alyssa and Daphne work very well together too. So there's definitely a lot of progress being made with this match. These are the 2 best makeshift teams that are going to come out of this tournament by a mile. And that's encouraging, because with Kong and Saeed looking like they're breaking up, and Angelina getting released, it's basically going to be up to these 4 women to carry this tag team division for at least a couple of months. And we also had the other qualifier, the other first-round qualifier with Madison Rayne bringing back Roxxi as her tag partner to take on the Beautiful People. Loved seeing Roxxi again. I really missed her. That was a really big feel-good moment. I mean, I know she's only there for like 2 shows, and then she's heading down to Mexico for AAA, but still, I mean, it was great to see her again, even if it was only for 1 match. And something I noticed here, Madison Rayne was actually getting the crowd behind her for the first time. I mean, there were "Let's Go Madison" chants in the crowd, and that's actually kind of a shame, because I think they're going to have her turn back heel now and reteam with Velvet to replace Angelina. They might be throwing Trina Michaels in there too, just to create Beautiful People 2.0. I don't know if that's going to work. All due respect to Velvet Sky, but Angelina's the one who made that team. Now, I don't know if I see them going very far without her. I mean, I think they could still be an entertaining group, but I doubt they'll be as prominent as they used to be. So, Angelina getting released really messed things up. I mean, the Beautiful People were the most over, most well-established team TNA had, and I mean, even if they weren't going to be the linchpin, they were certainly going to be one of the linchpins of this Knockout Tag Team division. With her gone, I don't know if that's in the cards anymore. And that's why I say TNA needs to get behind Alyssa Flash and Daphne and start pushing them hard. They need to be established as the heel team to beat in Sarita and Taylor's main competition. Have those 2 teams feud for the belts for a couple of months, while the writers do some damage control and get some new teams on the map that actually have a chance of working out. No more of this Tara Christy Hemme stuff, please. So those are my thoughts on Impact. There's one other thing that I want to mention here. I started up a pro wrestling / TNA blog, just as a way to get more of my thoughts out there and kind of raise my profile a little bit. It's www.tnathreshold.blogspot.com. At first, this was mainly due to the fact that the people who run TNAWrestlingNews.com aren't always as punctual as I wish they were. I could submit a new column and it might not get posted for like a week or 2, and by then it would be a little bit dated. I like to stay as current as I can with these things, so I mean, it made me kind of mad that I'd have to wait around for other people to post this stuff. So it started out as just a way to get the columns posted more quickly, but I'm adding more and more original content now. My videos are going to start going up there. I'm doing commentary on news and rumors and stuff, and I'm hoping that I can convince the guys from QCW Radio to contribute some stuff as well. So everybody check that out, please. www.tnathreshold.blogspot.com, the only blog where you're free to cross the line unmolested by biased, brain-dead fanboys. And that'll be about it for this week. I think I went over everything. So I'll talk to you guys next week. See you later.